It's Friday, everyone. What do we do on Fridays here at the Hint Hive? That's right, we smash the patriarchy. Welcome back to another episode of the Hint Hive, Amplifying Women's Voices. I'm your host, Kelly Hint, Queen Bee of this hive, and today we're tackling a topic that affects many women and their romantic relationships: ADHD, or Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. ADHD is often misunderstood and can present unique challenges in romantic relationships. But fear not, because we are here to unpack these challenges and explore strategies to manage them effectively. All right, honeybees, before we jump in today, I just wanted to provide a few updates and maybe go over a few housekeeping things. So I want to thank my loyal listeners, as always, and also welcome new listeners to the show. I'm very excited that the Hint Hive has been downloaded 611 times as of the recording of this episode. That makes me so incredibly happy. And we are in 7 countries and 89 cities across the world. And so, again, that makes me so happy. So thank you so much to everyone who is tuning in. I absolutely love seeing this message being spread across the world, because my message is empowerment for women, and there can never be enough, in my very humble opinion. I also had some questions come in about some of the links in the episode description. So I just wanted to kind of go over a couple of those things real quick. So in the episode descriptions for the podcast, there's a couple of clickable links in there. So one is send us a text message. So that's the one where if you want to text the podcast, and remember, it's only a one-way texting situation. So you can text in and then I will address it on air. Or on air. Is that a thing? On air? Is that the right saying? Whatever. I will address it in the podcast episode. There we go. Or you can send an email if you wanted to have more of a conversation. I also have my email address is listed in the episode description, as well as a clickable link to my website, coachkellyhint.com. On my website, I have tons and tons and tons of free resources. I have blog posts. There's also, you can listen to the podcast directly from my website. Also, there's information on anxiety, depression, low self-esteem, all kinds of stuff there. I also have a link to join the Hint Hive Facebook group. The Facebook group is still in the beginning stages. It's pretty quiet right now. But the more of you that join, the more conversations that we can have. So please feel free to click on that link and head on over to become a member of the Hint Hive Facebook group. And the very bottom has a link to my book. And my book is Kick-Ass Coping Companion Stuff, SH blank T, your therapist taught you that you forgot. So that is it's a book of coping skills. So for those of you struggling with anxiety, depression, ADHD, anger, there's some really good coping skills in that book. You can get it for, let's see, the Kindle version is $9.99, paperback is $14.99, and I think the hardcover is $24.99, so it's available in multiple formats. But it's a great resource for people who need to brush up on their coping skills. So my other 2 links that are in the episode description, I really don't like talking about finances, but here we go. So one of them, it says, Spilling the Tea with Tea Runners. So I am an affiliate for the Tea Runners company, and they have like great tea subscriptions, this, that, and the other. So if you use that link and use that discount, you get a 10% discount. But I also eventually end up like they'll send me free tea sometimes. Sometimes I get like 10% if there's like a sale going on, stuff like that. So there's that. And then there is a support the show link. That is for anybody who wants to make a contribution because, and again, I don't like talking finances, but it's a part of life, so I'm going to. It costs money to produce this podcast. And so there's an opportunity for any listener to submit donations. So that is an option. I'm not asking for it. I'm just putting it out there as an option because as many of you know, we are in some very difficult financial times right now. And I am unfortunately one of the people affected by this. My business costs have literally quadrupled. And so continuing to spend money on a podcast that I don't make money from, I can do it right now because it's not excessive. But it is an expense that if things got bad, I would have to cut. So I simply put an option out there just in case there's anyone who has like a couple extra bucks that they want to toss towards the show. Again, please do not feel obligated or uncomfortable that I'm asking anyone for money because I am not doing that. It is simply being placed out there as an option because I want to continue to bring this show to my listeners. And again, there's no danger of me shutting it down right now. I just wanted to put that option out there for all of you. Okay, now let's move into the fun stuff. Let's talk about ADHD. Some people call it ADD. So in the world of psychology, therapy, all that fun stuff, there is a manual called the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, the DSM, that we utilize to form diagnoses and diagnostic impressions about some of the struggles that people have. And ADHD is one of those disorders. It used to be called ADD. Now, because the DSM is updated quite often, we are on the fifth version of the DSM. And so it is called ADHD with or without hyperactivity, like there's an inattention type, because ADHD can look a little bit different among various people because it's not all hyperactivity. Some of it is like spacing out, that inattention stuff. But again, we'll get into that in a second. So let's start by understanding ADHD. So it is a oh my goodness, this is going to be a mouthful for me to say, apparently. It's a neurodevelopmental disorder. There we go. And it affects both children and adults. It is commonly diagnosed in childhood because that's usually where the symptoms start coming out. And parents are like, what is going on? A lot of times teachers are like, oh my goodness, what is going on with this child? So it is ADHD, it's characterized by symptoms of either inattention or hyperactivity or impulsivity or all three of them. And the symptoms can vary greatly from person to person, and they often present differently in women compared to men. Women with ADHD tend to be a little bit more prone to internalizing their symptoms. And this leads to a lot of anxiety, low self-esteem, and chronic disorganization. A lot of times, men with ADHD struggle with that hyperactivity or the impulsive piece. I birthed one of them. My son is incredibly impulsive. And so that's definitely a challenge that he and his wife have to deal with quite often. In romantic relationships, ADHD can actually manifest in several different ways. If you struggle with ADHD, you might find it very challenging to stay focused during conversations, or you might have trouble remembering important dates and details. And that is a huge deal to some people. Impulsivity can lead to saying things you don't mean or making decisions without fully considering the consequences. And so these types of behaviors can understandably create tension and misunderstandings in a relationship. Because a lot of times, so for example, if your partner forgets your birthday, a lot of people take it personally, right? It doesn't feel good to be forgotten. And so when we take it personally and forget that this could actually be a symptom of a mental health condition, it can lead to a lot of arguments and fights. And again, I'm not saying that people with ADHD need to be given a free pass and, oh, this is how I am, and so you just have to deal with it. No. For those struggling with their symptoms of ADHD, I really do recommend therapy or coaching. So if you know that you tend to be forgetful, use the technology that you have in the palm of your hands all the time. Set reminders, stuff like that. Sorry, I'm getting way ahead, so I'm going to back it up. We will actually be talking about specific techniques in just a little bit. So before we get there, let's talk about how exactly does ADHD affect romantic relationships? So let's break it down specifically. So we've got communication issues, right? People with ADHD often struggle with active listening, which can lead to misunderstandings and feelings of being unheard by their partners. They might interrupt frequently or change topics abruptly, making it hard to have a coherent conversation. And again, if you're the partner who doesn't have ADHD, you are taking this personally. You're being like, oh, she doesn't listen to me. He doesn't listen to me. Like, what's going on? Like, I'm not important enough in that person's life because they're not hearing me or they're not remembering. And again, this is where it's important to remind yourself that your partner may have a mental health condition that makes it extra challenging. So instead of taking it personally, going into problem-solving mode together could be more helpful. So let's talk about that forgetfulness piece. ADHD can make it very, very difficult to remember important dates, appointments, or even tasks, even normal, everyday household tasks, which can absolutely frustrate partners who might feel either neglected or unimportant, or they feel like they're the ones picking up the load all the time at home. They're the ones unloading the dishwasher, or they're the ones doing the towels because this other person who struggles with ADHD forgets it. And again, it's not that they're not prioritizing. It is that forgetfulness is a piece of ADHD. And then let's talk about the emotional dysregulation. So people who struggle with ADHD might experience intense emotions that are hard to manage. And as you can imagine, this can result in emotional outbursts or mood swings, creating a roller coaster of emotions in the relationship. And so if it's a female struggling with ADHD and they're experiencing mood swings, often I have seen women be misdiagnosed with bipolar disorder because of these mood swings. I've also seen women get diagnosed with bipolar disorder from just normal mood swings that occur in a menstrual cycle. And I will not go off on that today, I promise, but it is a huge pet peeve of mine because guess what? People are allowed to have emotions. We are going to have mood swings. Just because you have a mood swing does not make you bipolar, does not make you crazy. Sometimes it is simply the struggle to regulate the emotion, and it comes from a variety of places, not just one place, not just bipolar disorder. Sometimes it's ADHD, sometimes it's hormones, sometimes it is life circumstances, because let me tell you, when my life is crazy, I feel crazy. I feel like my emotions are all over the place and like I'm bouncing all over. And in reality, it's life. It is life happening to me. And so I have to work really hard to regulate those emotions and not overreact to things. And let's talk about the impulsivity piece of ADHD. My favorite, actually least favorite piece of ADHD is impulsivity. Because impulsive behaviors, such as like making big purchases without consulting a partner or blurting out hurtful comments, that can damage trust and stability in a relationship. And this is one that my that my poor daughter-in-law has dealt with for a few years now. My son is impulsive, and at the point in their relationship before they were married, when he had a bit of, financial freedom, like we all do when we are not combining our finances and becoming like exclusive partners, stuff like that. He would just go out and get a new vehicle if he felt like doing it. My husband and I would joke around every time Tyler pulled in. We're like, "Oh, he kept this truck this week." Because there was a period of time where every time he pulled into our damn driveway, it was a different vehicle. We're like, "Oh my gosh, what is going on with this kid?" And me as a therapist, I should have known better. And because I've known this kid has had ADHD for a while. We did not have him medicated. He was never officially diagnosed with ADHD. After I became a therapist, I knew he had it, and I did not want to put him on medication. We chose the behavioral route to try and manage his behaviors, like leaving him lists and stuff for chores to make it a little bit more helpful for him so he wasn't so forgetful. But to be very, very honest, we did my son a disservice by not having him fully evaluated and been a little bit more open to at least having conversations about medication. And again, I'm not going to demonize medication, but I've just seen people over-medicated given what I do for a living, and I did not want that of my son. Now, he's an adult, and he gets to figure all that out on his own. He can make a decision on his own if he wants to be on medication. But again, like it is something for consideration. It is an option out there. But if you are somebody who has ADHD and you are not open to medication, then again, we'll get to some strategies to better manage this. But understanding is the first piece. So again, if you're the person with ADHD in a relationship, you need to work on becoming self-aware of how your challenges are affecting your partner. And if you're the partner of somebody who has ADHD, you need to work on knowing that it's not you, it's them. And again, I'm not saying that you have to like shackle yourself to a life of misery. If you're the partner of a person with ADHD, that's where conversations need to happen. And again, we'll get to that in a moment. The last behavior that I want to address, because this is one that I don't hear people talking about enough, it is hyperfocus. So this is the flip side of impulsivity. So individuals with ADHD can also hyper-focus on their interest or work, sometimes to the detriment of their relationship. This intense focus on something other than the relationship can make their partner feel ignored or secondary. It was so funny because when my son was a child, and like he was so active, he didn't sit still. We just thought he was this scatterbrained kid. Like, what is going on with him? But when he would play baseball, like when he was little, we're talking like probably 6, 7, 8 years old. If you would throw a baseball at him, he would be so laser focused on it. And that's where all his attention went. And then later on, it was video games. And then later on, it was motorcycles and, like all the things that he could hyper focus on, he did. And so, again, this is just something to remind yourself of. If you are the person struggling with ADHD, you've got to remember that your partner is being affected by this. So let's move on to talking about strategies to manage ADHD in romantic relationships, because this is what the episode is all about. So while I acknowledge that challenges with ADHD in relationships are significant, there are effective strategies to manage it in romantic relationships. So the first piece of advice should come as no surprise. Open communication. You've got to be honest with your partner about your ADHD or their ADHD and how it affects you. This openness fosters understanding and patience. Encourage your partner to ask questions and express their feelings too. So if you're the one with ADHD, discuss it with your partner and encourage them to talk about how it affects them. And if you're the partner and if your partner has ADHD, ask them questions. Express your feelings. You have every right to talk about how their ADHD affects you. And then this next one I had mentioned earlier, set reminders. Use technology to your advantage. Set alarms or reminders on your phone for important dates, tasks, and appointments. This helps you stay organized and shows your partner that you value your commitments. And if you're the partner of the person with ADHD, encourage them to do this. It may seem like dealing with a child, but ultimately it is for the betterment of the relationship to remind your partner to do these things, to set alarms, to use these coping mechanisms for the betterment of the relationship. And then the next strategy is to develop routines, because establishing specific routines can provide the structure that is needed to reduce forgetfulness. Try to have regular check-ins with your partner to discuss schedules, responsibilities, and any concerns about what's working and what's not working. And then, of course, practice active listening. Work on improving your listening skills. Make a conscious effort to maintain eye contact, nod in acknowledgement, and repeat back what your partner says to ensure that you understood them correctly and that they know that you are making an effort. And again, if you're the partner of someone with ADHD, you really need to talk to them about this and about the expectations that you have of the changes that need to be made. And then managing emotional outbursts can be really, really important. Learning techniques to manage your emotions, such as deep breathing, mindfulness, taking a brief time out to cool down before discussing a heated topic, working out, whatever it is. And again, I do have some great tips in my book, so feel free to take a look at that. And of course, seek professional help. Consider either couples therapy, couples coaching, individual therapy, individual coping, especially with a therapist or coach who understands ADHD, because therapy and/or coaching can provide a very safe space to navigate the challenges and develop coping strategies so that ADHD is not destroying your relationship. And then educate yourself and your partner. The more both of you understand ADHD, the better equipped you will both be to handle its challenges. Read books, attend workshops, join support groups together. And then, of course, celebrate small wins. Acknowledge and celebrate the small victories in your relationship. Whether it's remembering an anniversary or having a productive conversation, these moments build positive reinforcement and strengthen your bond. And again, I know it kind of sounds a little bit childlike, like you're giving someone a sticker for good behavior, but I'm telling you that goes such a long way because it is deserving of acknowledgement. When somebody can rise to the occasion and manage some of these symptoms that interfere in a relationship, it is worth celebrating. It really is. It's not cheesy. And we've got to talk a little bit about personal empowerment and self-care, because beyond managing the relationship, it is crucial to focus on personal empowerment and self-care. So some of the ways to take care of yourself would be prioritizing self-care. Whether it's regular exercise, a balanced diet, adequate sleep, all of those things are essential for managing ADHD symptoms as well as other mental health symptoms. Make time for the activities that help you relax and recharge. And then the next important piece is to build a support system. Surround yourself with supportive friends and family who understand your struggles and can offer encouragement and advice. And of course, embrace your strengths. ADHD comes with unique strengths such as creativity, spontaneity, and enthusiasm. It's not all about the challenges. People with ADHD can be a lot of fun. So embrace these qualities and find ways to incorporate them into your life and relationship. And then, of course, practice mindfulness. I cannot overstate this. Mindfulness techniques can help you stay present and reduce the anxiety that surrounds the symptoms of ADHD. Consider meditation, yoga, the Calm app or the Headspace app, or just simply taking a few minutes each day to sit quietly and breathe. And then finally, set realistic goals. Break down tasks into manageable steps and set achievable goals. And of course, celebrate your progress, no matter how big or how small. And as always, it's important to understand that managing ADHD in a romantic relationship requires effort, patience, and understanding from both partners. And remember, it's okay to seek help and take things one step at a time. By implementing these strategies, you can create a more harmonious and fulfilling relationship. As always, honeybees, thank you for joining me on this episode of the Hint Hive, Amplifying Women's Voices. I'm so grateful that you have given me a precious piece of your day. I truly appreciate it. And I really hope that you found these insights and strategies helpful. If you have any questions or topics that you'd like me to cover in future episodes, please feel free to reach out. And also, if you're struggling with ADHD yourself, or if your partner is struggling and you're having a really hard time managing it together, reach out to me. Maybe we need to do some work together on this. Until next time, everyone, take care and keep amplifying your voice. This podcast is powered by Kelly Hint Empowerment Coaching, as well as Kelly M. Hint LMHC and the Cranky Counselor. To find out more about coaching services, head over to CoachKellyHint.com. If you'd like to know more about the psychotherapy services I offer to individuals within the state of New York, you can check out KellyMHint.com. And if you'd like to learn more about aromatherapy, you can check out thecrankycounselor.com.